And now we are joined over the phone by Dr. Islam Anan, Health Policy and Health Economics Consultant. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so how have Egypt's economic reforms and regulatory updates influenced the pharmaceutical industry's growth?
So first of all, thank you for the introduction. The Fitch report, which is issued annually to analyze the markets, global markets, and focusing on each country in the comparison.
Yes.
As you mentioned, it focuses on the economic reform happened since the new vision of Egypt for healthcare in 2018 in the form of the new regulations. And the influence of such reforms and the economic enhancements have actually, for example, shortened the regulatory approvals, as mentioned in the report, to be instead of 3 to 5 years to having drugs available in the market from 2 months to 6 months, which is by far exceeds the global benchmark. It exceeds as well the African benchmark by far. It boosted Egypt's effectiveness as well for the multinational companies to invest in Egypt, to launch new products, which if we are actually looking at it from clinical perspective, it enhances the patient profiles and the disease profiles in Egypt. We do have, for example, a rare disease, and instead of waiting 5 years for the patients with any rare disease to be actually treated and find a treatment, now we can find hope in only 6 months after submitting the file. Sector growth is clear. We are actually valuing the market now with around 300 billion Egyptian pounds for this year, and this actually was reflected on the exports. And currently the exports is rising, and we are expecting by 2030 to reach around $500 million US. So we can name, and as Fitch reports actually saying, that Egypt is emerging as a powerhouse in the region. That impact as well was very much influenced and demonstrated in the report on the disease front. So, for example, we officially declared the malaria-free this year. It was last year, in October 24. And as well, the elimination of measles, rubella, and the historic strides of eliminating as well virus C. So the virus C campaign, for example, which was again highlighted, this is a major tremendous loss from clinical aspect and from economic aspect. We are talking about a disease that was prevalent in Egypt as the top country with the prevalence of hepatitis C. Currently, we got the gold level classification from the WHO in the road of elimination of hepatitis C. So we screened 60 million Egyptian citizens and treated around 4 million, which is by far the biggest Guinness record screening campaign ever. Even in the non-communicable diseases, there were major focus on diabetes campaigns and hypertension, and the expansion of the cancer screening as well, doubling the oncology fund. And if we're talking again investments, we were actually spending around 3.5 billion in 2023, and now we are doubling the funds to reach a campaign where you can actually screen and early detect cancers for all Egyptian citizens and prioritize the top cancer diseases and put a eradication plan or actually an early detection plan for all.
Yes, so sir, in what ways did the Fitch ratings highlight Egypt's attractiveness as a regional pharmaceutical hub?
So if we are talking from economic investment features, we are talking about a country which is populous. We are talking about a country which was actually the oldest manufacturer of medications, with the oldest plants for pharmaceutical manufacturing in the Africa and the Middle East. We are the largest manufacturer currently in the African region, and actually we are producing currently, which is a huge percentage, 93% of our local supplies. So 93% of our local supplies is coming from local manufacturing, which is the biggest by far in the region. And if we are talking, for example, about Africa, we are talking the reverse. We are talking that Africa, they actually produce around 10% of their local needs, and they export the rest. So there's a golden opportunity for investors to invest in a country where you can actually register your product in a couple of months. You can actually get the export certificate, and you can make it as a hub for the whole region. If we are talking, this is from investment opportunity. If we are talking about expertise as well, we got the expertise from labor, and we got the knowledge transfer from the European countries, the American countries, on how to manufacture products. So we have WHO maturity level 4 for the plants in Egypt, which is the maturity level where you are actually permitting plants and factories to produce and export because it meets the global standard. And Egypt, by the maturity level 4 that was actually accomplished by the Egyptian Drug Authority, is leading the African countries in having this maturity level. So again, this is a huge opportunity for export and for investors to invest in Egypt. And we can see the reflection of that by the number of memorandum of understanding signed this year with the multinational pharmaceutical companies to produce locally and to make the knowledge transfer from the mother plants or from the other countries to the Egyptian plants. And we can see it as well from the contract signed by Egypt and the African countries on the trading and commerce contract to export and actually to import as well the API, which is the active pharmaceutical ingredients, the raw material itself, to be again manufactured in Egypt as well. Because as you know, maybe we are actually manufacturing 93%, but we're still importing the raw material from Asia. But currently the plan is to even have plans for the API, the local manufacturing of the active ingredients.
Yes, and how have global pharmaceutical companies responded to these reforms in Egypt?
So the Fitch report is very important to all the sectors. As I mentioned, this is a global report, and this is most important for the pharmaceutical sector and actually produced every year. And all the governments and all the pharmaceutical companies, specifically the multinationals, they focus on the figures emerged from the Fitch report to see whether we do have an opportunity, we have a risk in a country, whether we should invest, reinvest, and so on. So the Fitch report is actually very encouraging for the investors, for the multinationals, to enhance their portfolio in Egypt. And having said that, it's very important to mention that we do have all the multinational companies represented in Egypt, and now the focus is about expanding their portfolio. So, for example, if a company is launching a drug in the US, they're going to be authorized in Egypt to launch it as well in Egypt, because it will take a couple of months to be in the market, and it's a very encouraging market for having a population as well as for exports. Another thing is it encourages actually this year the companies to make the knowledge transfer, as I was mentioning. So we witnessed, for example, collaboration between Pharma, which is the medicinal plants opened by President Sisi, and Swiss sugar companies to local manufacture the medication that were actually sending a lot of foreign currency to export from Switzerland and from the European countries. We've seen it as well with the British and Swedish companies who can manufacture as well the products here. So again, we are saving, number one, we are saving local foreign currency, and number two, we are gaining a lot of foreign currency by exporting and convincing the multinationals to have the hub in Egypt and then to export outside.
Yes, I'd like to thank you.
This report and the figures actually tracks across. If we are talking about emerging markets, we are referring to the market which is what we referred to previously as developing countries. Currently, Egypt is a black horse. We're seeing a tremendous growth which was not witnessed by the rest of the emerging markets.
Yes,
markets in Africa or even in Latin America.
Dr. Islam Anan, Health Policy and Health Economic Consultant. Thank you, sir, for being with us.